Welcome to the Valley Soup. I'm Grant Musser.
And I'm Jay Hurley. This week in the stew, we're talking about sports.
Tasty! This week in the stew, we have our athletic director here, Mr. Wes Lyons. Thank you for joining us this week, Wes.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Excited for the opportunity to be here.
So are we. Thank you.
So we invited Wes to come in and talk to us today a little bit about the sports here at Juniata Valley. So we have some fall sports going on right now, football being one of them. So how do you think football is going this year?
I think we're very excited with how far we've come from the beginning of football season to now. Sitting at number 1 in the district, the 6-2 record. I think it's been a very positive experience, not only in the wins and loss column, but this group, the juniors and seniors that have been together for a while here and have sustained some success. It's continued to carry on through their career. So excited. You know, we started a little bit slow. We've gotten our the teams come together here, and looking for a good push here to the end.
And Wes, like I said earlier, he's our athletic director, but he is also our trainer here at the Valley too. So we were wondering, Wes, what has this year been like with regards to injuries this year? Has there been as many as previous years, or not as many, or sort of just right there at a good amount?
Well, I think the key, as you mentioned, being both athletic director and athletic trainer, is communication between me, the players, the coaches, just the open lines of communication, the ability for someone to pop their head in my office and just kind of keep track or keep a status of certain things that go on. Obviously, I'm one person. I can't be 4 or 5 different practices, games, or whatever at the same time. But I think it works really well because our coaches are getting a little bit more freedom to. I'm not there all the time to necessarily pull kids from practice if I see something. I mean, we're at the point now where you guys know at the beginning of the season we have our meeting where I explain to you the difference between being hurt and being injured. And I think through our athletics department, we're doing a nice job with that. I mean, obviously we've sustained some, a couple season enders, on the football side, but that's not uncommon. But everybody else, I think we only have about 1 game loss on the volleyball side, and cross country wise, we've been very, very healthy as well. So I think just open lines of communication between me and the coaching staffs and the student athletes have really helped in that injury category.
While we're on the lines of talking about cross country, we'd like to talk about some of the success we saw the girls and men's cross country teams have this year. So what was some of your take on the great season they had winning the ICC? Yeah,
so I joked about this the other day with Mrs. Booney and Coach Mack and people in the athletics department. The girls cross country team's like the best kept secret at Juniata Valley. Yeah. We're 3 out of 4 years undefeated ICC champions on the girls' side. I can't say enough about Coach Gahagan and Coach McCrum and just the amount of time and effort that those young ladies put in. It's really great too. That sport is it's a really special place right now. They got 13 or 14 girls. And my favorite part is, although we have some very good individual athletes, we win those meets as a team. We don't have the first and second fastest runner. We just end up with the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 8th, and the 9th. Yeah. We win truly as a collective group, and not, it is truly a group effort. And, on the boys' side with those 4 individuals, they've all gotten much better this year. They're running some of their best times even on Wednesday. We had some personal bests, even as the season winds down. So unfortunately, we don't have enough members on the team to score them as a team, but in my opinion, they would have been very successful this year too had they had the 6 required members on the team.
I think one of the most exciting things reading the newspaper and reading the announcements we have here at the school is that, yes, they have those senior leaders, but those senior leaders you can also see are doing a great job because we have the younger male team who's doing well, and we have a 9th grader who is probably one of the best runners on the girls' side that the ICC has coming. So I think that's very exciting too.
Yeah, Morgan Hess, the freshman girl that you mentioned, she's really done a nice job. She got third place in the entire league as a freshman on Wednesday. And that's something that we're obviously very excited for her to see the individual accomplishments. But, she's come in as a freshman and just made an already strong team even stronger. Like I said, last year they were undefeated and ICC meet champions as well. And this year, with Morgan stepping in and replacing a couple of seniors that we had graduate, we actually won by a wider margin because of some of the younger ladies that have stepped into their role on the squad.
So I think with the success from the football team this year and our cross-country team, I think our volleyball team has kind of flown under the radar a little bit with their success. What's your opinion this year on our volleyball team?
Kind of unlike other years, typically they've been slow starters the last couple of years and finished strong. This year they got off to a really nice start. The end of their schedule was pretty tough, and they're still going to qualify. I mean, we're going to qualify for playoffs. We're going to have a chance to obviously win playoff game or two and kind of see what we can do at that next stage of the season. They got some really talented players. There's no doubt about it. And sometimes you get in positions where we had a really nice pink night against Huntington, but I thought that game was going to be very competitive, and it was at times. But unfortunately, we just didn't have it on Monday night. But I think their capability, they had defeated Huntington earlier in the season in a tournament. So the potential, when they come together and play together, is really there for them to achieve, even a next step forward from last year. From hosting the playoff game. So, I think they have every expectation of going a step or two farther this year. And, I think that potential is absolutely there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they did have a little bit of a rough ending here, but I think that's going to help them in the playoffs, considering that they know how good they can be and they can win some playoff games. And I think some teams might take them a little bit lightly, and I think that's going to surprise some teams whenever they come out and just I think they could dominate some of those teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think what you find out too is the end of the schedule. Obviously the ICC sends us a schedule, so when we're playing our league, it's just kind of how the cards fell, where we played the three toughest teams in a row at the end.
Yeah.
And we had defeated Claysburg earlier in the year, and we played 5-gamer with Bellwood earlier and whatnot. But what you also find out is those teams aren't necessarily who are going to be playing in the playoffs either. The Huntingtons, the Bellwoods, we want to compete in our league, and we want to be the team that nobody wants to play in our league, even though we are a smaller school. But at the same time, you're right. I mean, that competition is good for us as we, push forward into the postseason.
Yeah, like you said, we won't be playing Huntington and Bellwood because Huntington is a 3A team and so is Bellwood. So I think that's something that you also have to look at. We're taking these 3A, 2A teams deep in the sets, and I think that's what people don't realize whenever they're talking about our volleyball team right now.
Yeah, Grant, and as much as I like to sit here and talk to you all day, due to scheduling issues, we're actually going to have to say goodbye to Grant a little early, and he's off to run a pep rally here at Juniata Valley.
Yeah, I'd like to say goodbye and pack the track tonight.
So yeah, I just want to reiterate what Grant said. It's very important. Hopefully you listen to this before tonight's football game, and if you do, come to the game, support our team. If you can't, it will be streamed live on Hornet TV. We are using all our new equipment for the first time this evening. It should be pretty impressive, and I hope the reaction is as it should be. So moving on there, we're talking a little bit about our fall sports, and it's already October 19th. So our gears here at Juniata Valley will be slowly changing over to winter sports. Wes, what are you looking forward to with maybe in winter sports in general, or you can talk about girls or boys basketball, wrestling, whatever you want to talk about here?
Well, I think our expectations for basketball at Juniata Valley, boys and girls, are to be competitive. That's our goal every year on the basketball side, is to be competitive, to win our division, win our league, and really compete for a district title. Yeah, so I think our expectation for basketball never really changes around here. Like I said, we expect to compete. We expect to compete for league titles, for district titles. On the girls' side, obviously we're going to be replacing 3 starters from a starting 5 that went to back-to-back state championship games. But I still expect us to compete at a high level, even at the AA level, which our girls will be bumped up to this year due to enrollment. On the boys' side, I mean, we return everybody. We didn't have a senior on the roster last year, from an undefeated ICC North team, and somebody that played for our league title, and kind of had a little rough patch there at the end. But I think the expectations are high for sure. Basketball is a true blue blood sport, in the district, and I think that the standard doesn't change. We might have some different players on the girls' side, and we still expect to compete.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how our younger girls players step up this year. Like you said, having 3 starters graduate, it'll be very important for our younger players to fill those roles as necessary.
Yeah, I think what you'll find is we had a lot of talented young players that most teams or most years would have gotten a lot more minutes. But the fact of the matter is, we had a very talented group of 5 that obviously took us to the state championship game. You're going to see a few of those girls. We had our junior varsity team was very successful last year, and we, on purpose scheduled State College and Altoona and some schools that we wouldn't typically play, because we wanted to keep them improving and keep them growing as basketball players, even though we knew they weren't necessarily getting as much playing time, as they could have been in other circumstances or situations.
Yeah, and I think that harder scheduling will really show this year when they are out on the court against tougher opponents and they have more minutes. I think that experience will really help them this year. So I'm not very familiar with our wrestling program here at Juniata Valley. It's just something that I don't really pay attention to. But what are you looking forward to this year with our wrestling?
The wrestling side's a little bit of a different story. We have a new coach this year. We have a new practice facility this year. But we have a lot of returning athletes, and I think one of the main problems that we've had being competitive as a team is not having enough numbers. And wrestling's such a different animal when it comes to how you measure success. Wrestling's one of those sports that, in a lot of ways, it is a team sport. Obviously, we keep a team score, but in some ways, it can also be viewed as an individual sport too. And in previous years, there's 14 weight classes. We may have only had 8 or 9 kids that were eligible to wrestle, so we were starting every match down 30-0. So sometimes when you look at it that way, and you look at the win-loss record, you might see 0-10 and think, oh, well, that was really a lost season. But that's not always the case in that sport. We've seen tremendous growth from some of the younger wrestlers. We have good numbers, so I'm excited as we move forward, like I said, with the new practice facility, with where we're going with that. I think we'll see improvement, but again, I'm just cautioned, it's not always the win-loss department as a team. We try to provide opportunities for our students here, and an opportunity for a great experience, and I think our students are getting that. I think those athletes, will continue to get that and enjoy wrestling. It's just one of those sports that you can't pick up as a 9th grader and be ultra talented right away. It takes experience to be good at that sport, and that's what kind of makes it unique from others. It takes a lot of repetition. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of personal responsibility, and I think you can't necessarily just jump into that right away and be successful.
No, and I personally have never thought about wrestling myself because of those reasons. That's one of the sports that I don't think I could do because of not maybe the personal discipline, but just the amount of time it takes and the work that has to go in. I mean, it's basically your entire life. If you really want to be a good wrestler, that's all you do.
If you want to compete at the highest level in that sport, it takes a lifestyle change, at the very least for a couple months of your year. And some people are again again, responsible enough or dedicated enough or motivated enough to make that happen. And others that aren't, it shows up on the mat sometimes.
So wrapping up the podcast, I'd like to thank Wes for joining us today and thank Grant, who had to leave early. But Thanks for talking with us and explaining what you're excited about and our sports here at Juniata Valley.
Sure, sports at Juniata Valley are such a great community event. Tonight, the senior night for football, I expect the community to be here. The community does a great job supporting our teams, and it just truly is one of those scenarios where everybody cheers for the school. Like I just love that atmosphere that Juniata Valley can bring, and it's enjoyable to be here, and I could talk about it for a long time.
Yeah, I could definitely talk about sports here at Juniata Valley for much more than 20 minutes, but we like to keep our Valley Soup podcast cut off around 20 minutes. So with that, thank you for listening to the Valley Soup.